This is the market update for August 2026, and I appreciate your watching this. Let's see what we have this month. Keep in mind all of the stats that we're going to look at are from July. We get the stats the 10th or 11th of the month. In any case, Express Success, something we push every month because it's good for you, kind of like vegetables. In any case, Express Success is a 1 year of intense coaching and education you'll get with Vena Jones Cox, online coaching, as well as access to her hundreds of hours of videos and other information and education that you can use to further your real estate investing career. All right, fear and greed in the stock market. Recently, this is August. Forget when I downloaded this, but within the last few days, basically it's 55, which is a little bit on the greed side. It's right on the cusp of neutral or greed. Stock market's been doing very well the last few months. In fact, for this year's done pretty well. A lot of it is AI driven, and people like Anthropic, OpenAI, and Claude, and so forth. They're all going to be coming to market looking for buyers for their stock. And so in anticipation of that, a lot of people are buying the stock market, hoping it'll go up, and it is going up quite a bit. But in any case, we're in real estate. But what happens is you get what's called the wealth effect. People who are doing well in the stock market feel wealthier, even though it's only on paper. They feel wealthier. They'll spend more money. They'd be willing to spend that money on real estate or to lend you money for real estate ventures. Mortgage rates are up a little bit. I know people get spooked by 6 and 7% real estate mortgage rates. The thing is, you have to remember that in the last 50 to 70 years, the mortgage rate's been around 7%, and it's basically crazy that it was 2 to 3% during COVID, but all that's gone away. 6 to 7% is the average. So 6.67 is not too far from the average it's been in the last 75 years or so. The highest rate, as you can see, was back during the recession of 1981. You had inflation and recession, all things going on at the same time. The gray bars in these charts show you where the recession was. You can see right during the height of the recession, the rate was 18%. That's the mortgage rate. So in my estimation, I think this is where creative real estate really took off. People couldn't sell their house because nobody could pay 18% mortgage. A lot of people did creative finance, and this is where a lot of that got started. A lot of real estate investors got their start back in the 80s. A lot of the so-called gurus wrote their books and sold their courses because they wrote the courses and wrote their books back in the 80s, how you could buy property given the 18% mortgage rate. Here we are in the Baltimore Metro, which is Baltimore and the surrounding counties. You can see what I've circled here. In July, the month supply is 2.7 versus a 5-year average of 1.9, so 50% months of supply. Months of supply means how long it would take to sell all the houses that are for sale on the MLS, given the rate at which the houses are moving. So basically, a balanced market between buyers and sellers is 6 months. Anything under 6 months means it's a seller's market and sellers have the upper hand. Anything more than 6 months and buyers have the upper hand. Right now, it's still a seller's market, but you see that's creeping up over the 5-year average of 1.9%, 1.9 months of supply. We're now 2.7. I think that's going to continue to go up, especially if we head into the winter, the fall and the winter. That's going to drastically go up closer to the 6-month mark where it'll be a balanced market. But in any case, this is the Baltimore Metro. Again, Baltimore Metro here is year over year. So July over July stats, you can see Baltimore is the only jurisdiction that went down a little bit. Basically, Baltimore Metro, DC Metros, we're going to see are good places to live. So people are willing to pay a premium. Howard County is still the most expensive county around Baltimore. Went up 8%, and Anne Arundel almost 9%. That's quite a bit. Howard County has a reputation for really, really good schools. So people are willing to pay a premium for houses in that market. Baltimore went down just by a little bit, but Baltimore is still the cheapest, excuse me, the cheapest jurisdiction. And people are moving into Baltimore to take advantage of that. If they can't afford to live elsewhere, they're willing to sacrifice maybe some of the amenities, some of the crime and schools for paying a lot less in Baltimore City versus Baltimore County, which is 385 versus 250. People can save $135,000 at the median price, meaning half the houses are selling above that, half the houses are selling below that. Baltimore at 250 is the highest it's been since I've been doing real estate. And in any case, I think that's going to continue. Baltimore has a lot of rehabs going on. And I think the people are choosing Baltimore, even though we're down by 2%. Baltimore still, excuse me, people are still choosing Baltimore because of the huge discrepancy in price. Their money goes a lot further, even though the taxes are higher. Days on the market for Baltimore Metro. Basically, you can see it went up by a little bit, 9.1%. 12 days on the market. You can see the trend is moving higher. The peaks here are during the winter months when it takes longer to sell a house anyway. But you can see the peaks are moving very higher from year to year. This is 2023, 24, excuse me, 25, 24, 26. This is winter 23, 24. This is winter 25, 26. And this is this past winter of 2026. So taking longer to sell, it's almost 10% more than a year ago, July 2026. It's 12 days, the 12 days on market, but it's still pretty good if that's the median. Again, these are median numbers, half above and half below. These are some interesting headlines from the last 30 days or so. Boomers are supposed to downsize. They are buying bigger homes instead. So boomers have a lot of money locked up in their houses, especially if they refinanced at 2 or 3% a few years ago. And they may be selling those properties, maybe with owner financing, or they're selling with wraps. Or in any case, boomers were supposed to downsize as they got older, but they're taking their money and they are buying bigger houses, some of them. This is from, I think, the Wall Street Journal. And sellers now outnumber buyers by 51%, nearing December's record. So this is all for Redfin. This is just a few days ago, August 13th. So home sellers outnumbered buyers. So basically, it's pointing to the fact that the seller's market, excuse me, the buyer's market is approaching. If there are that many more sellers, it means there's a lot of houses that are not moving, and buyers may be more apt to look at your deal if you give them a lowball number. This I thought was interesting from just a few days ago, from August 17th. Abandoned homes in Baltimore are now being fought over in bidding wars. I don't know if it's really bidding wars, but basically there's a lot of rehab going on in Baltimore. There's a lot of city programs which allow people to buy houses for very cheap, especially investors, fix them up and selling to homeowners. This is from the front page of the Wall Street Journal just a few days ago, and a lot of comments are going back and forth between Baltimore being a good place to live and a bad place, but nonetheless, Baltimore's rehab renaissance is making the headlines in even the Wall Street Journal. It's a national magazine or national paper. Okay, let's look at DC. DC Metro, you can see, again, months supply, it's exactly what it is in Baltimore, 2.7, and the 5-year average is the same as it was for Baltimore Metro. So again, the months of supply is creeping up. When it hits 6 months, it's a balanced market. When it's over 6 months, it's a buyer's market. We're still in a seller's market, same way in DC, it's the same way as we are in Baltimore. DC Metro, you can see the prices here in DC are a lot more expensive. Arlington County went up by almost 16%. That's crazy. But Falls Church fell by 44%, from 945 to 526. And this is the summer selling season. This is when prices should not be going down. It should be going up because the summer selling season is when most people buy and sell their property. You see a lot of red there. I don't know whether that's because people are afraid that the DC market is going to be downsized and the federal government shrinks a bit. I don't think that's really going to happen. I don't think the federal government's going to shrink in any substantial way. People may be trying to get ahead of the game and thinking if the DC market shrinks, they want to get out now where they can make the most money. In any event, the cheapest county to live in the DC area is Prince George's County. From 447, it went up a little bit by 449. Again, that's a median number, half above and half below. DC days on market has been the same, 15 days. It's more than Baltimore, but you can see the change from a year ago is 0. So a year ago, it's still 15 days on market. But again, you can see that the trend is going up in the wintertime, especially you can see it's going from 20 days to about maybe 23, 22 days, all the way up past 30 days this past winter. So keep your eye on that. And again, I think we're going to see a change in the market over the next several months. So we'll keep a track on that next month in September and going forward when I do the market update. So again, broken record, the takeaways remain the same, that rehabbing and flipping is going to be profitable for the near time. The baby boomers are getting older. The baby boomers who were born in 1946 turn 80 this year. They will be retiring or dying, unfortunately. And next 20 to 40 years, a lot of the houses that were built for the baby boomers are going to come on the market. And if you don't know this already, we are going through what's called a birth dearth. Well, the baby boom back in the 40s and 50s and 60s has now turned into a basically cratering of the birth rate, so that people are not having as many babies. It means a lot of houses that were built in the 40s and 50s are going to be coming on the market, and there may not be people to buy them, or they're going to have to reduce the price substantially. I've seen it happen in Baltimore City. Some of the schools are closing because they don't have enough people to keep the schools, the classes filled. I think that's going to be happening in colleges as well as time goes on. A lot of the infrastructure that was built for the baby boomers is going to be what's the word? It's going to be an oversupply of houses and other buildings. And I think that's going to be, we're going to see that next 20 to 40 years. So rentals are almost always a safer bet. But again, as houses come on the market in the next 20 or 40 years, as the baby boomers retire and die off, houses become cheaper than rent. You may have to compete with rental rates that are going down instead of up, as we've seen for the most of the last 50 years. Important facts to remember: all real estate's local. So when you see headlines, real estate is this or that on like Wall Street Journal or New York Times or something like that, or you see it on the national news, you have to look at your own local market. You can't look at the national news. You have to look at what your local market is doing, which is why I do this every month. Also, if employment goes up and people's wages go down, you can't continue to raise rent, or you can't have mortgage rates that are really high when people can't afford to live in a house when their employment numbers are not supporting that. Basically, the biggest thing that impacts real estate is employment. If employment goes down and a lot of people are unemployed or collecting unemployment insurance, they can't afford to buy a house, or they can't afford to pay high rent. So if employment really skyrockets right now, where I think we're at 4 point something%, which is pretty good. If unemployment were to go to 6 or 7 or 8%, then you have to be careful about what you're charging for your rent or charging for your property to sell, because people are not going to be able to afford it. That's the market update for August 2026. Thanks for looking for this, and we'll see you next month.